the classic that inspired a movement, Charles Sheldon's In His Steps. What choices would you make if you asked, what would Jesus do?
In the late 19th century, a powerful question began to echo across churches and homes. What would Jesus do? This simple question inspired millions and became one of the most influential ideas in Christian living. The phrase came from a remarkable novel written in 1896 by American pastor Charles Monroe Sheldon, titled In His Steps. The book tells the story of ordinary people who make an extraordinary commitment. For one full year, before making any decision, they will ask themselves, what would Jesus do? This promise changes their lives, their church, and even their entire city. Today, we will journey through this inspiring story. A story of faith, a story of sacrifice, a story of transformation. Part 2. The Stranger in Church. The story begins in the town of Raymond. The First Church of Raymond is led by Pastor Henry Maxwell, a respected minister. Every Sunday, the church is filled with wealthy and comfortable members. They listen politely to sermons and return home unchanged. One Sunday morning, something unusual happens. A poor, exhausted man walks into the church. His clothes are torn, his face is tired and desperate. The congregation becomes uncomfortable. When the sermon ends, the man slowly stands up, and he begins to speak. He tells them his story. He had lost his job. His wife died from illness. His child is starving. He had gone to many churches asking for help, but no one cared. Then he asks a painful question. What does it mean to follow Jesus if Christians do not help people like me? The room falls silent. Suddenly, the man collapses. Later, he dies. The church is shaken. Pastor Maxwell cannot forget what happened. The man's words echo in his heart. Part 3. The Life-Changing Challenge. The next Sunday, Pastor Maxwell gives a different sermon. He challenges his congregation with a bold idea. For 1 year, they will promise. Before every decision, they will ask, what would Jesus do? And then they must do exactly what they believe Jesus would do. Not what is comfortable, not what is profitable, but what Christ would do. Many people hesitate. This commitment could change their careers, money, and lifestyles. But finally, about 50 people stand up and accept the challenge. Their journey begins. One of the first people affected is Edward Norman, the editor of the town newspaper. His newspaper makes money by printing sensational news and scandals. But when he asks, what would Jesus do? He realizes something. Jesus would not promote gossip and immoral stories. Edward makes a bold decision. He removes sensational stories from the newspaper. He begins publishing honest news and moral messages. But the result is terrible. Subscribers cancel. Money disappears. The newspaper faces bankruptcy. Edward struggles with fear, but he continues his commitment. Because following Christ is not always easy. Another member of the church is Rachel Winslow, a talented singer. She receives a job offer from a famous music theater. The salary is very high. It could make her rich and famous, but she asks the question, what would Jesus do? Rachel believes that the theater environment may harm her spiritual life. After deep prayer, she declines the offer. Instead, she chooses to sing in places that inspire people, hospitals, church gatherings, community meetings. Her music becomes a source of hope for many. Virginia Page is a writer who creates romantic and popular novels. But when she asks the question again, what would Jesus write? She realizes her stories are only for entertainment. They do not inspire people to live better lives. So she changes her writing style. She begins writing stories that teach faith, kindness, and sacrifice. Her publisher is not happy. Her income decreases, but her purpose becomes clearer. Another church member is Alexander Powers, a wealthy businessman. His factories employ many workers, but working conditions are poor. Wages are low. Workers suffer. When he asks the question, "What would Jesus do?" the answer is difficult. Jesus would treat workers with dignity. So Alexander increases wages and improves working conditions. His business profits drop. Other businessmen criticize him, but his conscience is clear. Slowly, the impact spreads. More people begin living by the same question. Crime decreases. Charity increases. People start caring for the poor. Businesses become more ethical. The church itself changes. It is no longer just a place for Sunday sermons. It becomes a center of compassion and service. The message becomes clear. True Christianity is not just belief. It is action. After 1 year, the group meets again. They share their experiences. Some lost money. Some lost careers. Some faced criticism, but they gained something far greater. A deeper relationship with Christ. They learn that following Jesus requires courage, sacrifice, and faith. The story of In His Steps ends with a powerful reminder. Christian faith is not only about church attendance. It is about daily decisions, every choice, every action, every moment. The question remains as powerful today as it was in 1896. What would Jesus do if every person asked this question sincerely? The world would change, homes would change, communities would change, and hearts would change. Closing. If this story inspired you, remember the question, WWJD, what would Jesus do? And perhaps today, you can take the first step